Anyone here? Yesterday I didn't do the challenge because my daughter got up earlier, so I can't, use the data to do stream. She has a music lesson to her students and the whole day. And then I had class with my Chinese Chinese tutoring classes. So, and then after that, I draw a little bit. I draw a picture. Can you see it? Yeah, I draw this picture, and I forgot. Yeah, it's too late and I forgot. Then before I fall asleep, I remembered. Oh my God, I didn't do it. It's so bad. But anyway, I don't think I wasted too much time yesterday. That's good. It's always comfort me um, when I think back. I haven't wasted time. That's good. Today, yeah, she she had my daughter hasn't began her lessons, so I can do it. Uh, and yesterday, my Bessie, she got a wild duck. She got her and she got the duck and kill it. You know, what can I do? I have to cook the duck for the dogs. Yeah, I cook the duck and feed the two dogs. The This is a fight duck. I think it's at least 1 kilo. Only meat, only meat. I think it's uh, over 1 kilo. Mm. Anyway, they they didn't waste the duck, so they ate it. I can't. My daughter can't. Just feel so bad for the little duck. She just want she just wanted to have a vacation in my yard. Then got got the dog got killed. Okay, let's begin. Becky. Of course, the greatest powers Sarah possessed, and the one which gained her even more followers than her luxuries, and the fact that she was the show pupil, the power that Lavinia and a certain other girl were most envious of, and at the same time most fascinated by, in spite of uh, themselves, was her power of telling story and making everything she talked about seem like a story, whether it was one or not. Anyone who has been at school with a teller of stories knows what the wonder means, how she is followed about and besought in a whisper to relate uh, romances, how groups on the outskirts of the fevered party in the hope of being allowed to join in and listen. Sarah not only could tell stories, but she adored telling them. When she sat and stood in the midst of a circle and began to invent wonderful things. Her green eyes grew big and shining, her cheeks flushed, and without knowing that she was doing it, she began to act and made what she told lovely or alarming by the raising or dropping of her voice, the bend and the sway of her slim body, and the dramatic movement of her hands. She forgot that she was talking to listening children. She saw and lived with the fairy folk, all the kings and queens and beautiful ladies, whose adventure she was narrating. She was she was not narrating. Sometimes when she had finished story, she was she was quite out of breath. Um, narrate, nar, narrate, narrate. Oh, narrate. I
narrate,
narrate. Sometimes when she had finished her story, she was quite out of breath. Breath.
breath,
She was quite out of breath. Narrate, narrating, with excitement, and would lay her hand on her thin, little, quick-rising chest, and half laugh as if at herself. When I'm telling it, she would say, it doesn't seem as if it was only made up. It seems more real than you are, more real than the schoolroom. I feel as if I were all the people in the story, one after the other. It's queer. I feel as if I were all the people in the story, one after the other. It's queer. She had been at Miss Minchin's school about 2 years when one foggy oh she had been at Miss Minchin's school about 2 years when one foggy winter's afternoon, as she was getting out of her carriage, comfortably wiped up, wiped up in her warmest velvet and furs, and looking very much grander than she knew. Looked looked very much grander. Grand. What's this mean? Oh, quiet. Then she knew. She caught sight as she flew and looking very much grander than she knew. She caught sight as she crossed the pavement of a dingy little figure standing on the area steps and stretching its neck so that its wide open eyes might peer at her through the railing. Dingy little figure. Figure.
Figure.
Figure. Little figure. Little figure standing on the area steps and stretching its neck so that its wide open eyes might peer at her through the through the uh, through through the railings. Something something in the eagerness and the timidity of the smudgy face made her look at it. Something in the eagerness and the timidity, timidity, timidity,
Tim- timidity.
timidity,
Timidity.
timidity, timidity, 胆怯，胆怯，羞怯，胆怯，羞怯。And the timidity of the smuggy face. Smudgy. 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 满脸污垢的 smudgy face.
Smudgy.
Smudgy. And the smudgy face. 满脸污垢的 smudgy face made her look at it, and when she looked, she smiled because it was her way to smile at people. Timidity, timidity of the smudgy face. Something in the eagerness and the timidity of the smudgy face made her look at it, and when she looked, she smiled because it was her way to smile at people. It was her way. The owner of the smudgy face and the wide open eyes evidently was afraid that she ought not to have been caught looking at pupils of importance. She dodged out of sight like a jack in the box. She dodged.
Dodge.
Dodge. She dodged. She dodged. 躲闪。 She dodged out of sight. Dodged out of sight. She dodged out of sight like a jack in the box, and scurry
scurry,
and scurry. Hurry, scurry. Oh, that's interesting. And scurried back into the kitchen. Scurry.匆匆忙忙的走，Why？急匆匆的走，急匆匆的走，匆忙的走。Owner of the smudgy face and the wide open eyes evidently was afraid that she ought not to have been caught looking at pupils of importance. She dodged out of sight like a jack in the box, and scurried back into the kitchen, despairing so suddenly that if she had not been such a poor little fallen thing, Sarah would have laughed in spite of herself. Fallen, forlorn,
forlorn,
forlorn. If she had not been such a poor little forlorn thing, Sarah would have laughed in spite of herself. In spite of, if so suddenly that if she had not been such a poor forlorn thing, Sarah would, in spite of, Sarah would have laughed in spite of herself. That very evening, as Sarah was sitting in the midst of a group of listeners in a corner of the story, the very same figure timidly entered the room, carrying a coal box much too heavy for her, and knelt down upon the hearth rug. Upon the hearth rug, 炉台。哦，
hearth,
炉膛。还有那个叫壁炉，地面，炉边，壁炉地面。壁炉地面。And kneel down upon the hearth rug to replenish the fire. Replenish.
replenish,
replenish. 重新状态。重新装态 ，OK， 把什么什么装满，重新装满。重新装满，然后是状态。重新装满 ，replenish。replenish the fire and sweep up the ashes. She was cleaner than she had been. She was cleaner than she had been when she peeped through the area railings. But she looked just as frightened. She was evidently afraid to look at the children or seem to be listening. She put on pieces of coal. She put on pieces of coal cautiously, so that she might make no disturbing noise, and she swiped fire irons.
iron,
Iron. And she swept about the fair iron very softly. But Sarah saw in 2 minutes that she was deeply interested in what was going on, and that she was doing her work slowly in the hope of catching a word here and there. And realizing it, she raised her voice and spoke more clearly. The mermaid swam slowly about in the crystal green water, and dragged after them a fishing net woven of deep sea pearls, she said. The princess sat on the white rock and watched them. It was a wonderful story. Who was loved by a prince merman and went to live with him in shining cave under the sea. The small drudge, the small drudge before the great swept the heart once and then swept it again. Oh,
drudge,
drudge, not drudge, small drudge. The small drudge, small drudge, drudge. The small drudge做工人，苦工。The small drudge before the great swept the heart once and then swept it again. Before the great 庄格栅，卢格 before the great. Before the small drudge, before the great swept the hearth once and then swept it again, once and then swept it again. Having done it twice, she did it 3 times, and as she was doing it, the sound of the story so lured her to listen that she fell under the spell, and actually forgot that she had not right to listen at all. The sound of the story so lured her. The sound of the story so lured. So lured. So lured her to
lure,
lure.
lure,
Lure. Lure. So lured her to listen. 引诱 so lured her to listen that she fell under the spell, and actually forgot that she had no right to fall under the spell. 咒语 fell under the spell 魔力咒语 under the spell and actually forgot that she had no right to listen at all, and also forgot everything else. She sat down upon her heels. She sat down upon her heels as she knelt hearthrug, and the brush hung idly in her finger. Idly. Idly.
idly,
In her fingers. The voice of the storyteller, went on and drew her with it into winding grottos.
grotto,
Grotto.
grotto, grotto,
Grotto. 仙人的洞穴
grotto,
Grotto. Under the sea. 仙人的 Grotto. Winding. Into winding grotto under the sea. Glowing with soft clear blue light, and paved with pure golden sand. Strange sea flowers and grasses waved about her, and far away faint singing and music echoed.
echo,
Echoed. Singing and music echoed. The hearth brush, oh, the hearth brush fell from the work roughened, roughened hand, hard roughened hand, and Lavinia Herbert looked round. That girl has been listening, she said. Roughen, roughen 变得粗糙的
roughen,
变得粗糙。Work roughened hand. Okay, that's pause because I haven't enough material to read. I have to make more.